Hey, what up, guys? Coming to you this morning with another 2019 mid-year top 10. Today we're going to look at the 168-pound super middleweight division. Actually got some news, so should be pretty entertaining. This is a good division right here, 168. You know, just under light heavyweight, so these guys, and just above middleweight. So these guys, you know, pretty good-sized fighters. Excuse me, they pretty deep in talent, so a lot going on in this division. Let's get into it. We'll start with the two guys that are out of the top 10 from the last one, which was last, you know, at the end of March, beginning of April. So first up is the undefeated and former WBO super middleweight champion, Gilberto Ramirez. Ramirez previously was number 4. He drops out because he decided to move up to light heavyweight and pursue a career there. He actually moved up in April. He took on Tommy Carpenter. He got a 4th round TKO there at light heavyweight. And in May, he decided to vacate his world title and pursue a career there. There's more fights at 168, so you know it's better for him. And we'll talk about him more when we get into when I do the light heavyweights. You know, because he is ranked there. Also dropping out is former 2-time world title challenger Jesse Hart. He previously was number 9. He also moved up to the light heavyweight division and fought there and won. He defeated Sullivan Barrera, so he's going to be in the top 10. We'll talk about him there. But you know, another guy, top-ranked guy, more opportunity there at 175 for top-ranked fighters. Now we'll get into the top 10. Look at number 10, breaking into the top 10 for his first time, is the now former world title challenger Avni Yildirim of Turkey. This guy took on Anthony Dirrell back in February, and he came up just short by a technical split decision. One judge had him winning 8 rounds. The other 2 judges gave the fight to Dirrell 6-4. So it was a very close fight. It was a cut on Dirrell. So in the 10th round, they stopped the fight due to the cut. It was on an accidental headbutt, went to the scorecards, and Dirrell took a technical split decision. And it was very controversial, though, as Dirrell became a 2-time champ. And it was so controversial that the WBC voted that Yildirim is the mandatory #1 contender after Dirrell and David Benavidez fight. So Yildirim will be getting a world title shot. Not sure if it's going to be before the end of the year, but it probably will be at the beginning of 2020. He'll be getting another world title shot, another chance at the winner of Dirrell and Benavidez. So big things happening for him. I think he's probably just going to stay busy before the, you know, for the rest of the year. Just stay busy, get a stay busy fight, get a victory, and you know, now that he already knows what he's doing next. Next at number 9, moving up 1 spot from number 10, is former IBF champion Jose Ustadegui. He still has not announced anything. He lost his title back in January to Caleb Plant. Very good fight. You know, Plant just outworked him, but hasn't announced anything. So hopefully we hear something about what he's planning on doing soon. He's currently ranked number 7 by the IBF. That's his highest ranking. He wants to get back in the mix. He's going to have to get into some kind of an eliminator. So hopefully we hear something soon on what he's doing. Next at number 8, and still number 8, is the undefeated former WBC champion David Benavidez. Well, Benavidez finally got it confirmed. He and Anthony Dirrell are going to collide Saturday, September 28th as the co-feature to Deontay Wilder and Luis Ortiz on Showtime pay-per-view undercard. That's a big deal. This is going to be Benavidez' 2nd straight co-feature this year. He fought on the Fox pay-per-view undercard of Errol Spence and Mikey Garcia. Now he's getting Dirrell for the world title. Hands down the biggest fight of Benavidez' career. And I think he's going to roll through Dirrell. I'm actually not going to do my next top 10 until after this fight is over. So I think he's going to beat the shit out of Dirrell. I see him knocking him out within the first few rounds. It could get to the middle rounds, but either way, I think Benavidez is going to score the knockout here in his biggest win and reclaim the world title, the WBC world title. So big things happening for Benavidez next. That's Saturday, September 28th, Showtime pay-per-view. Next and still number 7 is former IBF champion Caleb Truex. Well, Truex got the good news that, well, first off, in April, Truex fought Peter Quillen in an IBF final eliminator, and the fight was ended after I think it was into the second round, a cut was opened up, and an accidental cut was opened up. So they have to finish 4 rounds for the fight to go to the scorecards. So they weren't able to do that. So the fight was declared a no decision. But they already got the rematch going for I believe it's August 31st. They're going to be colliding on the Erislandy Lara undercard. I think it's a FS1 card, and yeah, he's taking on Peter Quillin again. So Truex has an opportunity to get in line for Caleb Plant, the undefeated IBF champ, and you know, he could get that title fight for the end of the year, could get it early next year. I think the fight with Quillin really can go either way. I'm gonna pick Truex, but I really think Quillin could win the fight too. So really, it's a 50-50 fight, but I'm going with Truex just because, you know, he's shown me a little more the last couple years than Quillin has. So I'm going to pick him, but again, really could go either way. That's August 31st on FS1. Truex versus Quillin, final eliminator. Next, and still number 6, is the WBC, the 2-time WBC super middleweight champion, Anthony Dirrell. Well, he got the news that his mandatory fight with undefeated David Benavidez is taking place September 28th, Showtime pay-per-view. I think Dirrell's going to get destroyed in this one. I think this will be the end of his career because he's already been talking about finishing his career anyways. I think this is going to be it for him. I think he's going to lose this fight by knockout. I think the knockout could come early. It could come in towards the middle rounds. I think if he boxes and stays away and fights a perfect fight against Benavidez and Benavidez falls into his traps, I think Dirrell has a chance, a puncher's chance here, but I really don't think it's a strong chance. I think Dirrell is pretty much done with, and he's going to lose this world title. But that's why they got to fight, so we'll see what goes down. That's September 28th on Showtime pay-per-view. Next, and still number 5, is the undefeated IBF champion, Caleb Plant. Well, Plant confirmed his next fight. He's returning Saturday, July 20th in the main event of a Fox card just before the Manny Pacquiao-Keith Thurman pay-per-view that night, as he's going to take on undefeated Mike Lee. Plant's coming into this one a heavy favorite. Mike Lee, you know, undefeated fighter, but he's really kind of a fringe contender. He hasn't really done anything. He's been a light heavyweight most of his career. He's more known for being a standout Notre Dame football player than anything else, but I think Plant's just going to outbox him, outwork him, probably stop him in the middle to later rounds, and hold on to his world title ahead of a likely mandatory defense that could take place before the end of the year, if not the very beginning of next year. So yeah, I think this is kind of a little bit better. He's a little bit better than a stay busy opponent, but I don't think he's going to pose too much of a threat for Caleb Plant. That's Saturday, July 20th on Fox. Next at number 4, dropping one spot from number 3, is former world title challenger Chris Eubank Jr. Haven't heard anything on Eubank and what he's doing next. There's been a lot of shit talking with him and Billy Joe Saunders, who he lost 2 years ago by split decision. But other than that, haven't heard anything about the possibility of what he's doing next. He's currently ranked number 2 by both the WBC and the WBA. Now, the WBC, there's no chance there. That's wrapped up. You got Benavidez fighting for that world title, and then Avni Yildirim will be fighting for, is the mandatory to the winner of that. So you're looking at, if he were to even win a final eliminator, he wouldn't be fighting for that world title till late next year. So the WBA, if he's going to cash in, would be where he goes after a world title, possibly Colin Smith. You know, Canelo is looking at possibly facing Smith. So Eubank, you know, he's got to decide on what he wants to do and which title he wants to get on line for. But he's got the name, and I'm hoping he signs on for at least a decent opponent next. I'd love to see him and somebody like Ustadegi go at it. But, you know, I don't know if Eubank wants to put himself in harm's way coming off of his career best win, a dominant 12-round unanimous decision over James DeGale, in which he retired DeGale. So we'll see what happens. Next, at number 3, moving into the top 10 at 168 for his first time, is the undefeated and newly crowned WBO super middleweight champ, Billy Joe Saunders. Saunders was fighting for the interim title on May 18th, and then Gilberto Ramirez decided to vacate the world title. That left the full world title vacant, and he went in and dominated Shafat Isufi, some nobody, dominated him to a shutout 12-round unanimous decision in his official debut at 168. He's now the WBO world champ. You know, there hasn't really been talks about what he's going to do next. I'm sure he's going to want to come back by September, October area to defend his title. The question is, against who? He's been talking shit to Chris Eubank. There's been other guys that have talked back and forth with him as well. I really couldn't tell you, but I hope he gets a top 10 guy in the ring, because he does want a big fight. But question is, how bad with Billy Joe Saunders? You know, the guy talks a lot. He's very inactive, you know, and I just hope now that he's got a world title at 168, he actually fights some decent competition. So we'll see. Next at number 2, or next and still number 2, is the WBA regular champion, Canelo Alvarez. Well, Canelo returned in May, and he also returned to the 160-pound middleweight division, where he attempted to unify titles against Daniel Jacobs. He got a convincing 12-round unanimous decision in that one, and unified belts, adding a third title at middleweight. We know Canelo's coming back in September, as he always does. The question is who is that going to be against, and at what weight? And right now I'm hearing that he could very well be facing either Sergey Kovalev at light heavyweight, or he could be moving up to 168 to face undefeated Colin Smith. You know, a lot of options on the table, so we'll see what happens. Hopefully we get some news very soon on that. But I heard he's pulling back of a Triple G trilogy and looking at possibly moving up to 168 again, or even 175. So, yeah, you know, we'll see. He could very well be defending and going after another world title at 168. And then finally, still number 1, is the undefeated WBA super champion, Colin Smith. He finally returned from winning the World Boxing Super Series last September. He finally returned and took on former 2-time middleweight champion Hassan Nadam. Nadam was really past it. Nobody really thought he stood a chance here. And he went in and absolutely dominated him. 3rd round TKO. And you know what? Some people say, so what to that? But you know what I say? I say, you know, that's what you're supposed to do against a guy like Takam, who's not, you know, a big deal anymore. And you know, you're a heavy favorite over. You're supposed to go in there and destroy him. That's what he did. It was a good, strong performance by Colin Smith. And, you know, hopefully, the rumor is, we already knew he was one of the options for Canelo, but now it's looking more serious that he could be in line for Canelo, which would be huge for him. I mean, that's a big-time fight. He's the top dog in the division. Canelo is right there with him. I would love to see that fight. I think it'd be great. So we'll see what happens. If not, you know, hopefully somebody else wants to step up and grow some balls and take a chance, like Billy Joe Saunders or somebody on that level, or Chris Eubank. See what happens. All right, guys, that's 168. I'll come back with the light heavyweights tomorrow. True Boxing. You've been hit with the truth.